Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Outsourcing and More. I are your hosts. My name is Francis.
My name is Penny. Hi,
And
welcome again.
welcome, yeah. And today we have a very interesting topic.
Yes.
I think the topic was inspired by our previous episode
Conversation, yeah.
where we talked about pricing
Mm-hmm.
and how pricing can be affected by your growth as an individual,
Yes.
right? We talked about may mga tao na like we start your adult career at a certain level, but how do you bring your level to the next level?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And hence, we decided to talk about career growth.
Yes.
Right? And when we say career growth, I feel like we're talking more about yung expanse ng career. So we're talking about like the timeline. So we're also talking about age. I'm very ageist at this point. I'm very, I've come to a point where I think about age a lot. I think there was a time na
Come on, you're not that old.
yes, but no, I kind of am. But the idea is, you know how when you're 25, you feel like I will never die. that you feel like you could go on forever, and therefore thinking about the future doesn't come very high in terms of your priority. And that comes from all walks of life, whether or not whether or not you're just high school graduate, whether you graduated with a degree, or and some people start off working at a very early stage.
Yes.
Wherein
Some people do.
yeah. And sometimes the fact that you're already bringing in money doesn't really I feel like that's the extent of the plan sometimes. And
When you're younger, yeah.
when you're younger, right? You don't really think about career or
No.
career growth. You just think,
No,
baka
well,
ma-promote
there,
ako.
there are some people who are like that, but not a lot of people are like that.
Not
Probably,
a lot.
I would say, of the people that I know, about 5% are like
Yeah.
that.
And maybe some people do plan, but they don't plan that far ahead.
Yes.
Like say for example, if we apply in any position, your immediate idea is I want to do the grunt work for 6 months, a year, 2 years, and then get promoted as
Yes.
say a team lead or a specialist.
Yes.
But that sometimes that's the extent of
Of the growth that
of
they are
the
thinking.
plan.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the plan. Like words like, or maybe they think about manager, but you don't talk about like VP. But some people actually start out in life with that in mind. Like,
Yes.
I am going to be the vice president of so and so company, and that's very admirable for somebody who comes into the workforce very young. But let's try to address a lot of this. Maybe I don't plan to address people who already have
That sort of
specific
planning, yes.
plan, because if that's your idea, that's it. And some people have no choice. If your career path takes a very long time, like if you wanted to be a doctor, for
Yeah.
example, it's a very limited, narrow scope. You take pre-med, and then you take med, and once you're a doctor, you become a resident, specialist,
Yeah.
surgeon, fellow, until
How
you
their
own the
Grey's
hospital.
Anatomy.
Yeah,
Anatomy,
until you
right?
own the
Is that what
hospital.
you're-
You
is
get
that
into a
the
plane
track that
accident.
you're referring to?
You get into a plane accident, and then you own the hospital. But yeah, no. Grey's Anatomy aside, just go back. How many of you people out there right now have an actual plan in life? Ganun.
Wow. Wow.
I need something to drink. But yeah,
No, really, like when you and I remember this because I like now when I look back, I wish I had a plan in place. But then I mean, even when you're going into college, right, you think that this is going to be the industry that you're in. I studied broadcast communication. I thought that was going to be interesting.
and
because
this
I
has
was-
been Penny.
no, yeah, right? Because you're
Was
going
that the
to
goal?
college-
Was that the goal? That you're
yes.
for morning news, this has been Pen Camille.
Yeah, it was,
that was a goal.
Like that's the reason why
You
I
certainly
went
have
for
the looks for it.
I went into an ad agencies because it's a related part of it, like production, and because ad agencies do productions.
Yeah.
And that's where the broadcast communication training education
Right.
was supposed to be based. But then, of course, life happened. It didn't really get into
Pan out
that.
that way, yeah.
Yeah. Because sometimes when you're really young, we're like really starting really young. And when you're really young, you don't you think about going to college thinking, oh, this suits my personality, right? That's what you're thinking. You most of the time you don't even think about what is the work going to be like.
Yeah.
You just think ad agency, right? But you don't think about a lot of the overtime hours and right. And because
Or
I had
what
a
your
kid,
life is going to
yeah,
be
and because I
when
had a
you're
kid
already
pretty
there.
early, like I was in my 20s. I had the kid pretty early. I really couldn't do a lot of overtime because I had to take care of this little baby.
Yeah.
And so that's
Actually,
why
I mean,
yeah.
having kids is, I wouldn't say detrimental, but
No,
it
give
kind
me a
of
lot of
does.
direction
Yeah, yeah,
actually.
yeah. Yeah, but if you're talking about a job, especially the one that you have to grind in order to get to sort of like the next level,
Yes.
it doesn't encourage family life, which I kind of think is wrong to a certain degree. I think you should be able to build a career and build a family at the same time, you know. But we're that see where careers actually start. Let's be realistic that where when you're in the Philippines, the word career isn't really thrown around that
Yeah.
often. It's not.
It's more of a job rather than a career.
The goal is to get a job,
Yes.
bring home the bacon, and then cook the bacon.
And
Joke.
then cook
It's a
some
joke.
eggs.
I joke. I bring home the bacon and then I cook the bacon too. God damn it! It's very funny joke. But yeah, that's the idea of how things are here, and even then, a lot of people who go to get a certain education for a career path don't really get to practice
Yeah.
what they wanted. And I'm reminded by one of the agents that we hired recently that because I had to, and that's I think that's a very telling word, that because I had to work and provide for the family, I had to get the job that was most available
Yes.
at the time. And I think that's where a lot of people fall in terms of categories,
Yes.
and as much as I'd love to address, like, start young, understand, appreciate that you have now 2 extra years of high school to really think about what you want to do. Yeah, because it's weird. I mean, back then I had to think about a college career at 16, and like, who thinks about a college career at 16? But you know, again, not to tangentialize. You, you more often than not, you end up at a certain point in your life when you say, this wasn't what I had in mind.
Exactly.
This wasn't what I had in mind. And let's land on that particular spot, because that's, I think, where a lot of people who end up freelancing
Yes.
find themselves to be. You had to work, had experiences, call center, maybe you had admin work, clerical work, social media work, and then you decide to strike out on your own, right? And unfortunately, when you find yourself in that position,
Sometimes
and
you don't really think about what's next for me, what's the next level, what should be my next level.
yeah,
You think about what could be my next job
no,
rather than what's the next level for me for this job
yeah,
or for the
no,
job after
more
me.
importantly, you find yourself in a position where there's not a lot of career path
Yes.
laid out for
Yeah.
you. There's really not. Like, people who are, say, for example, in the more classical job stereotypes, like education. You have education. You have medicine, where you can take a career, take up a masteral course, and then take
Yes.
up a PhD course, and then continuously bring yourself to the next level.
Yes.
People who end up where we are, maybe where I ended up, wouldn't see yourself in that kind of career path,
Yeah.
like a set goal in life. So what do you do?
Yeah.
And then sometimes,
How do you go about growth in your career?
mm-hmm.
And to be quite honest, in the freelancing industry, right? There's not a lot, like the traditional sense of career growth would be going up the ladder
Yeah.
from agent to manager to and then
Director,
the director,
VP, yeah.
right? But really, in the freelancing industry, there's not. Usually, you go there for one specific job,
Yeah.
and it's not actually open
Yeah.
for you to go to a different level. It's
And let's
not
use another
on the
word,
plate.
not just freelance. When you talk about the outsourced
Yes, the
industry,
outsource industry. Yeah.
that's exactly the point. They're outsourcing a specific skill set, job, position that doesn't offer a lot of career growth too, because it's there. It's the kind of like the sort of work that they cannot manage on their own,
Yes.
or maybe they just need to outsource because they're focusing on other
Areas of
aspects
the
of their
business. Yeah.
business. So customer support, not a lot of growth there. Most of the time you'll hit a wall because you need to do support one, maybe tier two, but the managerial role is most likely a job that's
For the onshore. Yeah.
on their onshore
Onshore.
or their
Yeah.
in-house team. So again, you, I was building myself up to a natural stop, and I was like, I don't have anything else to talk about. But that's the problem.
No, but
It's stop. It comes to a halt.
how can you make it happen? Because I think for you and me, like even though we went into these companies knowing that we're just going to do support, anyway, we're just going to do support, but then we actually grew with them
And
as
we
well.
grew into our individual
yeah,
roles as
yeah.
well, and we each
How did
found the way.
yeah? How did that happen for you?
How did it happen for me? Put it this way. When I started charting my growth, and I said, this can't go on the way that it is
Okay.
now. No,
Yeah.
it just good. It can't go on the way that it is now. It's because I cannot foresee, based on this current career path, a spot where I could comfortably retire and
Okay.
live my life. If you're earning, say, 40 30,000-40,000 a month, doesn't offer you a lot of opportunities to retire, because at the end of the day you'll be earning, you're still paying rent, you're still paying your utilities, right?
Yes.
And that's going back to to our conversation earlier, where you say pricing needs to be considered very carefully, including savings. I was already doing all of that in terms of, okay, if I save this much, I'll be able to have this much money by the time that I retire. And I was like, okay, after maximizing all of the plans, I was like,
Not gonna be
that's
enough.
that's not enough.
Yeah.
So I needed to think about another way. How can my career path grow if I stay in a tier one position? It just can't. So I needed to look at a path where where I am, and I keep saying this to everybody. I really do keep saying this to everybody who's in a tier one support, email chat support, rockstar VA position. um, it's a dime a dozen industry, guys. It's for the young ones. It's for the people who are striking out, have potential, but not a lot of experience, growth, or other skill sets available. I think when I hit that path, I was like in my mid-20s, and I told myself, it just can't be this way. So if there's no career path, then what can I do during my spare time in order to better myself?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I say better myself, it's not like in terms of, physical,
yeah.
or I meant breaking into other industries that offer higher premiums for my time, or other positions that will allow me to actually grow into a position, specialization, for example. And I think that's where I found that, if at that time, going back, and this was a time, kids, when social media wasn't a thing, uh, or
It
wasn't
was. It wasn't. Maybe, I mean, Facebook wasn't. It was.
if you
I
you
remember what day I joined Facebook. Okay, are you
I
sure?
do, I do. But it wasn't a time when it. So see, the social media career, it snowballed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there was a time when it wasn't, and all of a sudden it was.
Yeah.
Right. When social media was like, we're looking for people who can handle our social media.
Yeah, yeah,
It was a brand new
Mhm.
industry, and I was like, you're looking for a job that requires you to post on Facebook? I can do that. But it quickly grew into a different
Mm.
aspect, like content calendars, for example, and then different avenues where you can post one material, and then it again snowballed into insights and incremental income,
Mm-hmm.
wherein you make one post and expect it to give income to the company. So it actually grew, and I remember that was one thing that I wanted to
To
sort of
do.
like specialize
Mm-hmm.
in. When I did, that was again an amalgamation of different skill sets, because
Yes.
I can talk to my clients better, understand what their wants, needs are, and therefore you kind of got in.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Sorry.
no,
No.
go.
No. When I think about career growth and when I'm talking to people, because in freelancing there's not a lot of opportunities for you to grow into like climb the ladder within the company for freelancing or outsourced. But when I think about it, I still grew. It's just that there's no ladder. It's more on the skill sets and the knowledge
Yes.
within that specific industry,
Yes.
which was at that point I was part of a SaaS company, so
Mm-hmm.
I knew a lot more about SaaS and not just the support side of
When you say
things.
SaaS,
SaaS, sorry,
service as a software.
services as software like
Software as a
te-
service. I'm
software,
sorry. That was.
yeah, software as a service, web applications,
Mm-hmm.
tech apps,
Tech
mobile
apps.
applications like
Yeah.
that. And so I grew in that company because it's more of the knowledge
Mm-hmm.
that I got while
Yeah.
working within the company. It's not just I wasn't locked inside just doing support. I was
Yes.
just I understood like the development side of it,
Mm-hmm.
understood how product development works because I started with a startup. I started with a startup. They were a startup, and because you're a startup, you see all of these
Little
different
aspects. Yeah.
little aspects, and you see them growing into different departments. And so I was a witness to that.
Yeah.
And that's where I grew. I found like I understood the different parts of the business, and I wasn't just caged in
Yeah.
to doing support. So even though, well, afterwards I did climb
Cage
the
yourself.
ladder. No, but then
Oh.
I made a space for me there because well, with your help, I actually proposed to the client to for me to be a manager for the support team. Right? There wasn't really a
We found
position for
ourselves
that.
in a unique
Yeah.
position where we were building the support arm,
Yes.
because just so you guys know, when I was talking about the social media side, it was in conjunction with the many different things that we were doing at that time. We found ourselves in a position where the company outsourced the support
Mm-hmm.
side, where it grew and then grew without a manager growing it, and then they said we
Yes.
needed a
Yeah.
manager in the role, and I was like, Penny, you were number
Number five
three,
in the
five
I
in the
was number
company.
five in the
Yeah.
company. Yeah.
And then they said we're looking for a support manager. So I was like,
No, they weren't actually looking. I we
oh, yeah,
we
yeah, yeah, sorry.
proposed.
Oh my gosh, I remember that. And then we said, go for it. And again, many reservations and many conversations later, you finally leaned into yourself and said,
Yeah.
okay, I will be your manager. But the thing is, I think the celebratory thing there is that we were able to create that opportunity, because
For
it gave us
ourselves, yeah.
leeway to handle it more for ourselves.
Yes.
Um, do we say that our path is unique? I mean, not every.
No.
No, no, no,
No,
no,
no, no.
not by any.
No,
not
because
by any
I
means.
we've interviewed several people where previously I was just a VA, but then because the client trusted me, now I'm the operations manager for their company.
Yeah.
We have talked to people like that.
Yeah, few and far in between, but it still
Yeah,
happens.
it still happens.
We know some good friends who started VA positions back in Canva, and then they. Do we remember
Back in Canva?
Canva? The
Yeah, I know what Canva. What do you mean?
I'm trying to remember
Who?
who. Yeah.
I can't remember. I can't
Wait,
remember.
wait. We're going to post this somewhere there when we remember it. But our good friends who started Canva, and then talked about Canva being being a possibility to bring Canva to the Philippines, and they actually brought
The Canva in
Canva
the Philippines,
to
yeah.
the Philippines, and then they eventually grew within that company. Although they left it eventually to start their own business. but that was actually pretty encouraging
Mm-hmm.
because you again took a run of the mill position
Yes.
and then transformed it into an opportunity for yourself.
Yes.
Not everybody's going to be able to like, hey client,
I
let's
think you need
build an
this. That
office
yeah.
over to the Philippines. But when that opportunity presented itself, they were able to take it and then make something out of it. Or at the same time, I think it's all about these like finding and creating these
But
opportunities.
yeah.
They're not set career paths,
Yes.
but you'll be able to find yourself, if you're creative enough to think about opportunity solutions with your clients, that then becomes uh your golden
Golden ticket.
ticket
Yeah. To
to
level up
doing
you.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, same thing in your case, when we started our own, um do we go there?
Yeah, I think the other thing that I just want to mention,
uh,
just based on my experience, is, um, so we created that opportunity,
right.
right, for me to climb that ladder, but then also like what you said, you started learning other stuff, which I did,
Mm-hmm.
um, and which
What?
I did. I started going to seminars for
Oh
leadership,
yeah. You
which
did Six Sigma
yes, I did Six Sigma. I also did a lot of management seminar,
courses. Yeah.
yeah, courses. But yeah, I was learning all of these things. But apart from that, because those are a little bit more formalized, like you get certificates after.
Yeah.
But I mean, just based on the job that I was doing, I was also learning other stuff, like
Right.
what does UX or UI mean, and really going into that so that I can understand what my client is actually
Yeah.
doing.
You know what's sad is that if you're I mean, we both fell in love with working for for SaaS companies or startup tech
Yes.
companies. Sometimes a lot of people would like find themselves in the job and like UI, and then would say, I've never really learned about that,
Yeah.
like, and I think we were curious enough to always like,
Yes,
if
I
we
was
hear
exactly that word.
yeah,
Curious enough.
curious enough to say, so what exactly are you doing? What does that mean? Yeah, is
Mm-hmm.
there anything that I can do to help you out there? And then, and that again creates either one, relationships
Yes.
between the other departments that you're working with, and then two, opportunities
Yes.
for 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 other avenues of growth. Like you might be stuck in one dead end position, but it doesn't mean that you might not be considered for other. So it's not enough to just keep your head down low and
Yes.
work. You have to like search.
Because you never know, right? All of us have different experiences. All of us have had
Mm,
different jobs, and sometimes your experience with your previous job can actually help you with your current job.
mm-hmm.
If you just keep, putting your head down. I mean, of course, as managers, you want your people to do their job well, but then if you bring your experience and your knowledge with your past jobs into the job that you're doing
Right.
now, it might not be apples is to apples,
To
right?
oranges.
So yeah,
You
but
turn it into apples to oranges. Yeah.
but your experience can still be related
Too.
to the current job that you have.
Yeah. I mean, and we always speak about this, like when you do, say for example, customer support work, but you've also handled opportunities for other tasks, like like design or
Yes.
website, and then you create yourself like unique opportunities. Like when a job says, we need you to have this skill set, which is support,
Mm-hmm.
but also nice to have, since our product is related, for example, to when they build products that build templates or
Yes.
designs or emails for customers. It becomes now a great opportunity for you to say, I also know how to do that.
In my head,
It,
there's like a Venn diagram of things.
of how things fuse together
Yeah.
to create like
Yes.
unique opportunities. And that's really how things go now,
Mhm.
because with tech startups, you take a skill set and then automate it.
Yeah.
So eventually the skill is, you're either working that product along with your client,
Mm-hmm.
or providing support success roles for that client. And it wasn't really long until, like I said, you keep building on that skill set, but you also want to, and this is like I said, not a unique solution. People tend to think na parang, if I came from the call center, I will master customer support. But
Yeah.
you'll realize that a lot of these opportunities can still lead to, say, customer success management roles.
Yes.
And the thing is, customer success is, a fancy word for account managers,
Yes.
but it brings to light that the way that these jobs evolve. I mean, there's, VP for people. What's a VP for people? Like, um, you tend to and companies tend to shift and evolve their
Yes.
roles as well, and you'll never know until you that will you fit into these roles. You never even know if you actually apply. But I mean, okay, let's take all of that and then pull back a little bit.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm just gonna say something about so for example, you come in as a tier one support, right? But you have your eyesight to doing managerial work. It doesn't you can be the most technical person, but if you don't know how to handle people, they might not consider you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would
And
always
that's the
think
worst
about
formula, even.
yeah. Sometimes I would always think like be prepared before the opportunity comes. And that's why I started, going to these management classes because I want to be prepared so that when the time comes, I'm not hesitant to take that opportunity.
And even the most immediate parallel or immediate promotional jobs, it doesn't mean that because you're good at your job doesn't mean that you're qualified for the next
Yeah,
step.
because they're different skills.
Yeah, I mean, again, you can be the best seller. That doesn't make you immediately qualified to teach selling
Yes,
skills
that's true. Very true.
to other people.
Yeah.
Ano yan? I would say the the best trainer isn't necessarily the best
Yeah.
agent
Yeah.
on the
That's-
floor. Same thing with
Yes.
QA positions. And the same is true where, not because you're the best agent that you're qualified to be the next team leader. I think that kind of mindset is what sets people up to fail because you bring them to that next step
Without
not
them being
without them
prepared.
being prepared
Yeah.
for that role. And there's so many other things. It's like take a team leader position. For example, a team leader is not really that high up in terms of promoting somebody from an agent position. Especially now, like if you have the larger companies, you actually have agent and then agent 2, agent 3,
Yeah.
senior agent before you become a team leader. But the thing about team leadership is that that's the key word, leadership. Being the best agent will not automatically mean that you know how to handle
Yeah,
people,
how to handle people
know
or
to
give
speak to people,
feedback
how-
or even
yeah,
be
feedback and coach, or even know the necessary skills to build a feedback system
yes,
or a coaching system, or to be able to track metrics and
or
scores.
be able to because leadership is building people up so that they can perform
Yeah.
at an optimal level.
Yeah. And you can't
level.
always keep saying, "Oh, watch me. This is what I do."
Yeah, no.
It's not
No.
exactly how it works. So it's sometimes it's breaking down bad habits, unlearning new
Yes.
habits, being able to take I see your potential skill and build it into another skill set. And that's a problem, like I said. Like even just from team leadership, what more when you move into a management position? And management positions, a lot of people will think, oh my gosh, he's a manager, he's on top of everything, he can just do whatever he wants. Little do they know that when you reach manager level, it's like the worst position ever. Middle management is the worst position ever because you're now beholden
Yeah.
to every
both.
part
Yeah. Yeah.
of the company.
You're
beholden
responsible for the people that you handle. You're also responsible for your metrics, plus responsible and you answer to the people that are
that are
high. Yeah.
you're answerable to stakeholders,
Yes.
to VPs, etc. For me, middle management is like the worst position ever. If you're an agent, you're responsible for yourself.
Yeah.
You clock in, you do the
your
work,
job. Yeah.
you clock out, and then hopefully your stats are lined up by the end of the week, and that like when you do reviews, etc. Team leaders are fine they're responsible for their agents, and then they're answerable to a manager.
Yeah, to a
manager.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But once you're a manager, you're now
You're a
answerable to
director.
every
Yeah.
agent who says, "Oh, I can't make it to work." You're catching people, or you're catching their team leaders trying to say, "Oh, manage their attendance." And then you have to manage the team leader itself.
Yes.
And then again, as a manager, you're now answerable to not just your immediate supervisor. Everybody on top is looking at you,
Yes.
and everybody at the bottom is looking at you. I feel like that's the worst position ever. But
I
that's not.
just to
This is not to say in terms of career
No.
growth that don't aim to
don't
be a
no no
manager.
no no.
No.
There's also a part of it that's very fulfilling, especially if you like helping people.
There is.
Yeah.
But the
Developing people,
important
yeah.
thing is when you find yourself saying that I find myself in a position where I want to develop
Yeah.
people, that itself is its own skill, and you
Yes.
need to be prepared to
Yes.
be able to dispense that. That's why not a lot of people become, obviously not a lot of people become managers, because it's just very different from what a lot of people have in mind. It's because they think. The funny thing is, the grunt work people think that a manager comes in, sits in his office all day
And they do all like the agents do all the work, but the manager just
doing nothing. It's
No,
just so many things that's
so many.
happening in the background, because it's performance stats, weekly business reviews.
I think the other thing that people also like this is more of the leadership trap, right?
It's a leadership
The
trap.
other thing that you also have to think of when it comes to career growth is also there's also that path where you're handling processes rather than people.
Yes.
Yeah.
You become process owners.
Yes, process owners.
Especially when and this is one of the things that you're actually called on to find unique solutions to problems. It's like
find gaps, make
Exactly.
solutions, make the process efficient,
and
yeah.
make creative solutions and say, why is it that they cannot answer X, Y, and Z
Yes.
when we have a knowledge base? It now becomes a numbers game. What are these gaps and what's
Yes.
the cause? And you're doing root cause analysis.
and then you're
doing-
trying to implement initiatives so that you can kind of you
Mm.
can solve
for the gap.
for the gap, yeah.
And then provide meaningful feedback for for the process itself. So the process itself needs to be handled, but at the same time it needs to produce results.
Yes.
And then you have to defend the results and then push for the changes that need to happen. Oh my god.
So as an agent, if you're looking into the leadership track, which is you need to get the people skills, so you need to grow, like even just read, right? You don't have to go to seminars. Even just
You don't need
pick
to
a book.
force your
I mean, there's Google. Hello, just Google and start.
find free
yeah.
audiobooks.
Yeah, audiobooks. If you're wanting to, be an owner for the processes, then you have to also understand how processes work and how you can streamline those things. That's the growth that you will get into, and you, as a person, you will grow into as well.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, I'm always gonna keep pointing this out, that eventually you'll find yourself trying to understand these career options.
Yes.
But maybe you'll find yourself that you're not meant for that type of career
Yeah,
track.
you could be perfectly happy, and that's okay.
And does that mean that there's no opportunity for movement? Not necessarily, because when
what
you
what
start
exactly
out,
is movement? Because I mean, when you say, I think what you're referring. No. What exactly? I mean, if you're just referring to positions, right?
right?
No, but it's not. It's also movement of the mind, of expanding your knowledge, expanding
And
your
skill
skill
sets.
set. That's still movement.
And just for the purposes of keeping this contained, this conversation contained, if you find yourself that you're not, like if you hate people, for example.
Don't be a manager if you hate people.
Okay, so you can be a manager. It doesn't mean that, okay, I'll be stuck at my particular desk job. That
No.
means I can increase and enrich my stats and look at other avenues,
Yeah.
because even in companies there are
Lateral
there are
movements,
lateral
yeah.
movements or higher skill sets. Let's just move around the tech space for a bit. Like customer service doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be stuck in customer service, especially again if you hate people. That means you want to move on to a
Why are you
particular
in customer service if you hate people?
No, I'm kidding. You can start learning, like higher level
Yes.
skill support, tier 2, or maybe you want to live in diagnosing issues
Yes.
that people run into, and diagnostics or tier 2 support is a movement in and of itself.
Yes.
And then when you move from tier 2, you just keep understanding what the issues are and saying that it's a it's, say for example, it's a problem with integrations. And sometimes when you live that much in that sort of role, you probably would find yourself curious and say, how exactly does this integration work?
Yes.
Does it do this? Does it do this? Does it do this? And then you ask, of course, people who are already in the role, and then you might find yourself understanding what are API endpoints, for example. No, it's true. That's
Yeah, because
exactly
we
how we move.
kind of
It's like-
learned. Yeah.
yeah, we moved and understood that. And then, what's the next logical step? Sometimes the next logical step is finding that specialization, especially if the company that you're working with allows you to be curious enough and move in that position. Cross posting
Yeah.
allows you to understand the nature of other jobs that you're close proximity with, and then work that in such a way that do you want to work with this? Because in terms of hiring, the companies sometimes would say, okay, we need somebody that's tier 2. But when the company is SaaS or tech, sometimes the problem is you can't work with just the raw skill or the raw training. You have to work with somebody who is also very close to your product.
Yeah. And just to add on your other point, just on the lateral movement.
other
Sometimes because what you're saying is like, for example, agent and then tier 2, right, which is more on the integrations, and mostly it's really most tier 2 is like that. But then if you're in that spot, you can always look at other departments and see what they're doing, and maybe, right, you're interested in one of the things that one of the other departments are doing, product development. Right,
Oh,
because
yeah.
because you see this product and you know that if and since you're an agent, you have access to what the customers are saying, right? That could be valuable for you if you're going to be a product manager. Sorry, product manager. And if you're interested in shaping that product, then you can dive into that. But again, you still have to have to learn product if you are gunning for that kind of lateral movement.
And for example, if you're in the events or project-based companies, probably would find. See, a lot of these jobs right now aren't exactly jobs that you went to school for.
Yes, actually.
Like, people don't exactly go to graduate from college and say, I will be a project manager someday. But project managers are actual positions, but they grew from project managers actually grew from being able to manage projects within a company, and then you find yourself saying that I can do this. This is a project manager role. And when you say project manager, I mean, for those of you who aren't familiar with project management, it's being able to uh, to take an ideation of
Come up with a plan.
come up with a
Implement
plan,
that plan.
implement the
Meet the
resource,
deadlines,
plan the resources, throw Gantt charts around, and then bring people resources and see a project through to completion. It's not necessarily something that again you go to school for. You
Yeah.
find yourself.
Well, you
in
do
a-
have projects in school, but then it's not exactly a course, right? I mean,
Yeah.
even with social media, right? Like now we have courses like digital marketing
yeah.
in college, but when it was starting out, there wasn't any courses like that.
You posted something on Facebook, and then
Yeah.
you found yourself editing pictures and editing, and then finding the right. They turn courses out of successful
Yes.
careers. That's true.
Data science.
Data science. Oh yeah, well, I'm not gonna dive into data science because I don't know enough about it. But what I'm saying is, eventually these jobs evolve. Like when new courses are offered in colleges, because these jobs evolve, right?
Yes.
The important thing is that you find yourself in a position to evolve along with
yeah.
the times. You
Very-
can't just
very
get
much.
stuck
Yes.
in one thing.
If you want to grow, you can't be complacent. You can't just
Yeah.
come into work and okay.
This is
I'm
what I'm
here.
gonna be doing, and then I'm gonna
Gonna
stay
log out.
away. Yeah, the best thing that you can do for
It's
yourself.
4:59. I'm gonna log out by 5.
Yeah. Well, not to say that you have
Yeah.
to like do a lot of overtime, but
No.
the truth of the matter is you find yourself maybe spending a lot of extra time for a work that you're doing that you love, right? But it kind of has to spur on additional growth and development from you. You know, is it wrong to say, like, I like what I'm doing now, but I also I'm curious to learn about what he's doing because that looks
We throw
interesting.
around this word curiosity, but it's
Curiosity.
really important to be
Yeah.
curious if you want to grow. It's important. I mean, even if you read about Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. Sorry, Buffett. They take like 30 minutes of their day just reading, and these are people who are already successful.
They're already successful. I mean, like, I would like to say that we have found a moderate amount of success in well, let's say, we've found success. Do you still find yourself upgrading?
Always. I mean, I actually, like, every year, my goal is to learn something new, which is why in the past, in the past year, I went to several
Congratulate me. I know
semin-
HTML.
I went to several seminars, and this year it's I am planning to do another one. It's just that I have a lot of things that I'm doing right now, but personally, I also learned how to drive. Right?
Congratulations.
It's not related to work,
You
but
can
I'm
drive
still
me
learning.
now.
It's just
Yeah.
that's how I am. I'm a learner. So
Does that conclude that too? The learning should never stop. The learning should never stop. Yeah. And like I said, in my case, it's not that I put a lot of stock into leadership and redefining leadership roles. I mean, it's right now it's paramount with what
Yeah, what
we're
we're
do
doing, yeah.
with what we're doing, being owners of a company. But at the same time, it's not like I never say that I don't have time to learn something new because our
You're a very curious person. You are, and you will dive into it.
at least at the very least enough so you can know.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot in terms of our own job actually requires us to be curious and very diversified in terms of skill sets because you can't just welcome a new client in
Yes.
and not know
Not
anything
know anything
about
about what they're
doing,
doing, yes.
right? I think at the very least, like say for example, when we're looking at a new client, hi clients, we stalk
Yeah, we
their
learn what their
website,
company
we learn,
does,
try to get
who
a
we're
basic
talking to.
understanding.
Yeah, because I mean, how would we know what people would fit for their company if we
Yes.
don't understand them?
Right.
So it's still a learning process.
And maybe as much as you can, like try to define what the roles that they're looking for are. Then that's a
Yeah.
basic form of learning as well. And if even possible, really try to dig into what the role is going to be. It might be, it might just be a similar role to something that our people are already doing. But, for me, it's very, very important that I actually understand. So this is what they're doing
Yeah.
day in, day out. In order to say, I can look for the people that, that company is looking for.
So, in terms of career growth, if you are wanting to grow your career, be curious. That's one of the things that we mentioned.
Is
Be
that our
curious.
takeaway for the day?
Be curious. It's like collaboration and what's that? Don't be weird.
Don't be weird.
No, be curious enough to look at what your current job scope is, what others are doing in the company, what your company's purpose is. That's one thing. Do not forget to grow, personal development, read, talk to people,
Right. And
listen to audiobooks, listen to our podcast, right? Those are the things for career growth. Because even if we talk about ladders in the corporate ladder or just going to a management position, which is quote unquote ladder, or because you're climbing up the
even
ranks.
outside of the rat race, the same opportunity applies.
Yes.
Look at what you're doing now and look at what you can be doing
Yes.
in the future. Does it allow you to look for, like, I know how to do this now at the, like, I know it like the back of my hand. I can do it in my sleep. The moment you start telling yourself that, it's time to
Just
take
push
this
it up a
opportunity. Yeah, push it up a little bit more, because just remember that all of your a lot of skills that high paid individuals do it's not just because they locked on
Yeah.
the right skill set at a particular time. It's also building on their previous experience.
Yes.
Like for example, successful restaurateurs uh know about the business aspect of restaurants, but also maybe worked
As a
in the
yeah, chef. Yeah,
trenches.
yeah, true.
In the trenches, they needed to know the flavors. You can't just say, I have money. I am going to be a restaurateur.
Yeah.
That's a, you know,
Get the experience.
it's almost a surefire
Yeah.
way of failing.
Yeah.
Right in the, right from the get go. You have to have some solid foundation into the business that you're
Diving into, yeah.
that you're diving into. So as a career, yes, keep growing it, because sometimes almost by not by circumstance or happenstance, you keep all of your skills to heart, you'll find yourself your own business. You'll
Yeah.
find yourself to be your
Yeah.
own.
Opportunities will actually come once you prepare yourself.
Yes.
Like even if you think it's not gonna happen, or but if you prepare yourself, it's amazingly it comes.
It comes. And because that knowledge, that confidence that comes from the
Yeah.
sort of self assurance that you know yourself and the business and the value that you bring to other people, it also attracts and gravitates. It attracts other people, and you gravitate to like-minded individuals. And I think that's really
That's
how
true. Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of
Getting
the
attracted
business
to like-minded.
circles
Yeah.
grow and develop as well. They see people who think the same way they do or have the same skills, because yeah, you can. I mean, yeah, I mean, you can always spot a fake from a mile away.
Really? What if
All this time.
all this I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I think what we're saying is be curious, learn,
Learn.
and
Never
it's
stop
not just
learning.
never stop learning, and it's also learn from the experiences of others, and that's where the business circles come in.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just as you interact with people that are actually doing the things that you want to do, right? You also develop those things, and you're actually you don't have to go through what they went through,
Yeah.
right? Because you're learning from based
And
on
you're
their
learning
experience.
from their experiences
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. So, I mean, how did we actually end up talking about being a business owner again? We were just talking about career paths and career
Again,
growth. I think
amazingly,
because again, it's
this
a
came.
it's a natural progression
Yes.
of what you're doing. I mean, at this point, happy to say, a lot of the people that I worked with, all those 20 something years ago, are also now finding themselves as, successful business owners. At the very least, it became the stepping stone.
Yes.
Their experience also became the stepping stone to finding different other fulfilling careers. Again, it might not necessarily be like owning a business.
Business,
It
yeah.
might be owning a consulting career. It might,
Yes.
that you might find yourself, in a different industry altogether,
Yes.
but finally following passions and all. Uh, it's varied, it's rich, but what I can definitely say is that for the people who end up being successful, it's because they built that very solid foundation of themselves. They took the customer service skills and turned it into the ability to talk to customers. They took the creative skills and turned it into the ability to market their own business.
Yes.
You took your management skills from the corporate world and turned it into management skills to manage your own
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Right? So everything really is. So don't never ever
Stagnate.
definitely don't ever stagnate. Always remember to draw upon your experiences,
Yes.
because like I said, eventually you'll find yourself, almost inevitably you'll find yourself running either your own business. And like I said, when I say running your own business, it's not always like nagtitinda or selling
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 services,
services or
selling
product. It
products.
might be just selling yourself.
Yes.
And being able to completely transform yourself into a brand that
Yes.
can sell, or sell yourself to the highest bidder. No, being able to sell yourself to companies who are interested in you.
Yeah.
It could just
Yeah.
be as simple as that. Like I said, I mean, not everybody's interested in running multi not
Mil-
multi people company, multi people
multi-million,
or
multi-billion.
multi-million industries. You might just be interested in handling yourself. That's
Yeah.
fine. But at the end of the day, I'm happy to wrap this all up. I think I was able to bring my point. We were able to bring our point across.
Yes. So for you guys, what are you doing now to develop yourself and plan your career growth? We are very very much curious to know. Um,
Where are you right
Yes.
now? And where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? If you've never really asked yourself that question, it's
Yeah.
worth asking that question
Yes.
now, and maybe tell us where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? If you say, I plan to retire, what made you say that? And as always, I keep saying we do want to hear from you. Please, feel free to comment on all of
Yeah.
our social media sites. If you're listening up until the
Yes.
end of this conversation, where we are right now, thank you for
Thank
joining
you
us.
so much for listening and joining us.
And this has been Outsourcing and More. My name is Francis,
My name is Penny.
and we'll see you on our next episode.
Bye.